April 2nd or 3rd. I don't know. I lose track of the days. It's the beginning of April in the capital of Canada. It is Good Friday, so that might help figure out the date. And I have the day off. Where was I? Okay, so it looks a bit gray today, but it's about 7 degrees, which is actually a treat compared to what we've had recently. It's a bit late for spring to be coming out, but you know, Canadians were usually grateful whenever spring chooses to show herself. So I am feeling positive about it. So yeah, Friday morning, I've walked my dog, gotten myself a little ready, had a tea, had some boiled eggs for breakfast. And now I'm feeling like going to a local cafe. I'm going to say local, you know, it's not that close by. I'm going to be driving there, but it's that kind of day where you just want a little moment to yourself. And for me, that looks like walking my dog or going to a cafe. So today I looked up a place in the East End called Beyond Cafe. They look like they have some cute decor, some cozy decor, and a lot of lunch items that looked really nice. So I'm gonna go there and take myself out for a lunch. You ever do that? Take yourself out for lunch? I think it's important. A lot of people never go out to eat by themselves, but I guarantee you it's very enjoyable. So I should admit that what's been on my mind is the prep for my cycle event that I registered for in exactly almost a month from now. So a month is not that much time to really get yourself ready for a cycling event. Luckily, it's not that major. 35 kilometers. If you're interested in hearing more about the event, you can check out my most recent video. But in a nutshell, it's a fundraising activity that a local children's hospital is putting on. It's a pretty major children's hospital. It's called CHIO. I think it's called what is the acronym? Sorry, I don't know the acronym. But check out my last video for more information on the event itself. So yeah, prep. I think what I'm going to be doing is just focusing on nutrition, especially during the beginning of a season for cycling. For me anyway, I'm not a professional. I get a lot of foot cramps. And I think that is related to nutrition. So step one is always nutrition. So cutting back on sweets and goodies. That's why when I go to these cafes, I tend to not get the yummy stuff, which I would love to do for this channel, but you know, mukbangers usually don't end up healthy. So yes. Focusing on nutrition. I'm thinking about fasting again. Last year I did a stint of 16-hour fasting. So that means that, you know, once you're done your last meal of the day, you wait 16 hours until the next day when you can start your eating window again. And I really loved that. It made me feel kind of like clear-minded and just overall healthier. So I may or may not consider fasting again this month and just focus on good, healthy nutrition during that eating window. And the eating window certainly does help. I'm not sure if you've ever tried fasting before, but when you have an eating window of, let's say, 8 hours, does that make sense? Yep, 8 hours, 16 minus 24 is 8. So you would have an 8-hour eating window. You kind of have to focus on making sure you're getting what you're supposed to get in those 8 hours, because it can slip away from you. If you're someone who skips breakfast, then that eating window is kind of even shorter. So unless you plan it so that your eating window starts kind of when you know that you usually get hungry. I'm a big morning eating person. I tried to cut breakfast entirely, and I have tried this, cut breakfast entirely, and that includes like a coffee or tea with milk, right? If you're gonna fast, then you can't have milk in your tea or coffee. You would have to have something black. But I love, love, love my morning tea. Lately it's been a tea with some silk almond creamer and 1 sweetener instead of sugar. I know there's lots of people out there that have things to say about sweeteners, but sorry, I have to be on the sweetener team because obviously consuming that much sugar isn't good. I'll have maybe like 2, maybe 3 teas a day. I only drink coffee on the weekend. Where was I going with that? Yes, so cutting breakfast didn't work for me. I cherish my morning breakfast. So yeah, I much prefer to sacrifice dinner or eat dinner a lot earlier. To me, that's the sweet spot. Plus, I don't need to be eating right before bed. I have this heartburn thing that happens if I eat too close to bedtime. So I have to make sure that my last meal is at least 3 hours before I lay down. It's the laying down that makes it bad. So yeah, I have to make sure I eat and digest at least a couple of hours before I lay down, which is fine. Most doctors will tell you not to eat right before bed anyway, so that works out. So yes, considering fasting and general nutrition, so that means focusing on protein, okay? Lowering the carbs. There's nothing wrong with carbs. Carbs are not bad. We know that. But I just noticed my fuel level is low. Ugh. I'm not sure when that light went on. Okay, we have to pull over and get some gas. Why is it that all women hate getting gas? I don't hate it, but it's such a nuisance. Okay. We get the gas so we don't end up on the side of the highway with nothing left. Gas in Canada today, capital city, it is 178.9. That is not good. But we have to drive around, don't we? It is the price we must pay. I still remember when I was able to fill up this car completely for $30, many, many years ago. Anyway, I'll be right back. Okay, so I just got my gas. We're all filled up. We're ready to go. About halfway there. I think I need to focus on GPS to get there, and I'm filming this on my phone. So I will see you. So we got the shakshuka with sausage and the classic latte. Was super tempted to get one of the treats. The desserts looked absolutely amazing. Cheesecakes, croissants, all the cheesecakes. Yeah, looked amazing. Sometimes you gotta say no, and it's hard, but I feel like when you start getting practice saying no, especially when you go out to eat with friends or like family, I find that, well, that is the hardest time when you're confronted with it, you know, and you think, well, I'm here, might as well. Once you start learning to say no, it starts to get a little bit easier and your body starts to kind of crave it less. I don't know about you, but when I eat sugary things, I tend to not feel good after, like physically. So that helps too. Anyway, so I got the shakshuka and the latte. It was a bit pricey. It came up to $33 Canadian. That was like a bit, what the heck? Yeah, that's what I would call overpriced, especially given the portion. You guys saw it. It is definitely enough food for one person. Lunch size, perhaps a little bit more. But yeah, I didn't really like my meal, unfortunately. I'm used to the classic shakshuka, which is like more saucy. But this one had a lot of sausage in it, and the sausage had like a distinct taste, not a bad taste, but maybe what you would imagine like on a pizza, you know, that kind of flavor profile. So I had the sensation the whole time that I was eating a pizza, and I'm a bit weird. I actually don't love pizza. So yeah, that wasn't my favorite. I can see how some people would like it, but I would not order that again. It didn't taste like authentic, you know what I mean? And it turns out the place is Iranian. It is an Iranian cafe. I had no idea that we had Iranian cafes in the capital of Canada, but that's the joy of, I feel like, culinary experiences in the capital, or anywhere really in Canada, like the major cities, I should say. There is a lot of diversity in the food. There's diversity in the people, especially in the big cities, but there's a lot of diversity in the food. People absolutely love, well, what are some of the most popular foods? I would say like Arabic foods, Lebanese is huge, but there's also Caribbean, there's lots of Asian. I hope even more is going to come, because I remember when I went to the west coast of Canada in Vancouver, my Asian food goals were so satisfied. And we don't have as much diversity in Asian food here, so I would love for that to go up, but you can still find like what you're looking for. You just might have to like drive up a little bit. So yeah, didn't really like my meal. However, it looks like the place is really popular locally. It was absolutely packed. People were actually lining up and waiting 10, 15 minutes for their food. So it looks like it's an established local place. And I would definitely go again, just because the service was good. It looked like they had a lot of options. And I saw a lot of things coming out of the kitchen, like healthy things with like nice salads and whatever. So I would probably go again and try some other stuff. I'm not a healthy freak, but like I tend not to like super like greasy foods, which is a good thing. And I have driven into a dead end. That's okay. That's what happens when you don't have GPS. I've been thinking about getting another camera or something, because I've been filming on my iPhone. I would love for the quality of the video to be better, but my challenge is that I like to edit with iMovie, and I like that, you know, the video is already on my iPhone and the app is on my iPhone, so the editing process is just like a lot easier. But yeah, I know that the quality is not the best, and not just that, it's like slightly inconvenient to be filming on your phone and then need to use your phone for like GPS or paying, you know, with your tap. So anyway, would go back, wasn't my favorite, but cool place. Thank you, Beyond Cafe. So back to what we were talking about before, prepping for this race or this cycling event. We talked about nutrition, we talked about fasting, foot cramps. Yes, can someone tell me in the chat? I'm sure there's an ingredient, like there's a nutrient that I'm not getting. I've always been prone to foot cramps my entire life. It's clearly deficient in something. But if you could comment down below, let me know if you've had this problem and what you've done to kind of like help it. So the next thing obviously is physical training. So I don't think I can do really anything outside unless it drastically gets warmer. My rule of thumb has been 10 degrees or more, I will cycle. Because the thing is, you know, it doesn't feel bad when it's 5 degrees, but when you're cycling, the wind is hitting you and it tends to feel colder, especially on your hands and your feet and your face. So I don't think I'm going to be training outside. I'm going to have to get my butt to the gym. Luckily, my building where I live has a gym. I used to have a gym membership years ago, and then kind of started to feel like it was a bit of a money grab, you know, especially with these like bigger, fancy gyms. In Canada, we have Movati that's kind of like taking over a little bit. It's kind of like a fancy people gym, which I'm not going to hate on it because I had a Movati membership and I liked it a lot, but it was expensive. Yeah, so you would have to be going quite a lot to make the most of it. And little things started happening, like I really liked to do my sauna thing after, but the sauna was always broken. And sometimes I had like an urge to buy the smoothies. They had smoothies as well that they sold. So, you know, altogether, like I was spending a lot of money there. So, and I thought, this is like something that we've fabricated. The whole idea that like you need to go to a gym to get fit, I feel like is not accurate. Don't get me wrong, like you want to go to the gym, that's awesome. And I loved going to the gym. I'm not hating on the gym. However, during the pandemic, when I was trying to get fit again, and you know, gyms were not an option, I started walking outside, speed walking, jogging, doing push-ups on benches, doing squats outside. And then you kind of realize, you can get fit without going to a gym. Not to mention all of the fitness content that is on YouTube, for example. Like I mentioned before, I have a whole video where I talk about the fitness influencers that I watched on YouTube. But just invest in some weights, a bench. You don't even have to get a bench. Some weights, some bands, whatever, basic stuff, and watch some videos on YouTube and do your exercise. It's free. And then that's when I realized, okay, you know, you don't need to pay for a gym. So I am going to start working on strengthening the legs and building endurance at my gym downstairs and at home. So that'll be the plan. I think if I do that and dedicate perhaps 4 sessions a week, so that's every other day-ish, that should be good, and make sure that I won't have like a system shock when I do the 35K. It probably will be a little bit of a push because it's the beginning of the season and your body's just not used to doing that activity outside, you know, with the differences in elevation, and sometimes the stimulation of your environment also can like tire you out. So if you do 35K on a bike in the gym with nobody around versus 35 outside in the world where you have to like, you know, look out for traffic, start, stop, change your gears, what have you, then obviously that's more tiring on your brain and then your body. So that's what I'm going to do, guys. Really looking forward to it. I feel like these next 4 weeks are going to go by really fast. And in my head, I feel like this event is the start of spring and the season of cycling. It's going to be like a nice little, you know? So I'm looking forward to it. Well, guys, thank you for joining me on this Friday morning for my little lunch date by myself at the Beyond Cafe and chatting about how to prep for a cycling event. Take care of yourselves, guys. Please comment down below what you do on your day off and when you want to take yourself out, what you do. Or if you have any tips for me on how to get ready for this cycling event, please leave a comment down below. And please subscribe, which helps me out a lot. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. What you doing, Papa? Catch your frisbee? Huh? Catch your frisbee? Oh, that's a good boy. That's a good boy.